because we are attempting something huge. We're going up against Disney. We have our critics, but we have passion and we have a mission in mind that is bigger than just this movie.
Rachel Zegler has reportedly trolled Brett Cooper right after realizing that her already shattered PR was about to take another hit from Cooper. Cooper was actually cast as Snow White by Daily Wire, a conservative media company, as a direct response to Zegler. Naturally, coming across this news drove Zegler crazy, but now the story has taken a new twist. And for her, it's probably a breath of fresh air. Well, Zegler is the same woman who was already throwing a fit over Snow White fans criticizing her casting, and now she's stuck watching Brett Cooper take her role and do it better. Instead of handling it with any class, Rachel's resorting to whining, finger-pointing, and what else? Accusing everyone of being bigots because they prefer a Snow White who actually looks the part. See, Rachel Zegler has been on a warpath ever since people dared to say, hey, maybe Snow White should actually look like Snow White. And instead of just admitting that, maybe, Disney made a mistake. She doubled down on the woke talking points. According to her, anyone who doesn't like her casting must be some evil, close-minded bigot who just can't handle a Colombian Snow White. And to make matters worse, she tried justifying the whole mess by claiming that in her version, Snow White isn't named for her appearance at all. It's because she survived a snowstorm as a baby. What? That's the dumbest rewrite anyone's ever heard.
Wonderful, and whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things. So true, it's an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets a lot of people along the way that.
Rachel's been on a mission to make sure everyone knows this new Snow White is nothing like the original. Gone is the sweet, hopeful girl who finds love and kindness in a fairy tale world. Instead, we're getting a bitter, independent warrior who doesn't need a prince. In fact, Rachel went as far as to mock the original 1937 prince, calling him a creepy stalker. That's right, Disney took one of its most beloved fairy tales and turned it into a feminist lecture nobody asked for. Naturally, this didn't sit well with fans. People have been furious at how Disney is butchering yet another classic, and the backlash against Zegler was immediate. But of course, instead of acknowledging that maybe people just don't want their childhood favorites rewritten into lifeless political manifestos, Rachel Zegler insists that the only reason people hate her version is because of racism. That's her whole argument. It's not about the awful writing, the disrespect toward the original story, or the smug, condescending attitude. Nope. It's just because people are mean and racist. Fans literally demand, yes, put Cooper's version in theaters.
And she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see them.
And now, Disney has a problem, a massive one, because Brett Cooper is stepping into the role with the Daily Wire's upcoming film, Snow White and the Evil Queen. And guess what? She actually looks like Snow White. Classic fair skin, traditional dress, and none of the annoying self-righteous preaching. The second her promo photo dropped, the internet went wild. Fans immediately pointed out that this is what Snow White is supposed to be: elegant, pure, and timeless. Not some angry activist using the role as a soapbox. And you know who was the most upset about this? You guessed it. Rachel Zegler.
Anyway, so apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White and Disney, women can't even want to be in love anymore. That's some outdated construct. Oh, that was back in the 30s when women actually wanted to be around.
Meanwhile, the Daily Wire isn't just making a better Snow White. They're outright calling out Disney for destroying its own legacy. Jeremy Boring, the company's co-CEO, ripped into Disney, saying they've completely forgotten their roots. And he's right. Snow White was Walt Disney's first feature-length animated film, the one that built the entire empire. But instead of honoring that, Disney has chosen to spit on the legacy and alienate the very audience that made them successful. Zegler, of course, is still doubling down. She's been on record mocking the idea of fairy tale romance, saying that Snow White's story needed to be modernized because, and I quote, "It's not 1937 anymore." That's the attitude we're dealing with here. Total dismissal of everything that made the original special. But the thing is, people don't want modernized, sanitized, politically correct fairy tales. They want magic, romance, and timeless storytelling. And when Disney refuses to give them that, well, they'll just go somewhere else.
And in addition to just announcing Benke, we also announced Benke's first live-action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
That's exactly why Snow White and the Evil Queen is getting so much attention. People are sick of Disney's agenda-driven garbage, and Brett Cooper is giving them what they actually want. And the best part? There's nothing Rachel Zegler or Disney can do about it. They're losing, and they know it. Rachel Zegler thought she could scold her way into making people love her version of Snow White. Instead, she's watching her replacement steal the spotlight, and the internet is loving every second of it. Disney gambled on woke nonsense, and now they're paying the price. The backlash against Disney's Snow White just keeps getting worse, and at this point, it's almost as if they're daring audiences to hate them. The decision to toss out the seven dwarfs in favor of a random mix of magical creatures was the cherry on top of this disaster. Because apparently, in Disney's twisted logic, honoring the original fairy tale is offensive now. Fans who grew up with the 1937 classic watched in disbelief as Disney tried to erase the very elements that made Snow White legendary. Why? Because a group of clueless executives decided they knew better than generations of storytellers.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago. It's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for. Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Meanwhile, Brett Cooper and the Daily Wire have gone in the complete opposite direction. Instead of gutting the story to push a political narrative, they've embraced everything that made the original work. Cooper herself has been vocal about respecting Snow White's legacy, making it clear that their adaptation, Snow White and the Evil Queen, isn't some modernized, agenda-ridden mess. No, this is about giving audiences the fairy tale they actually want. One that doesn't shove politics down their throats. And guess what? People love it. The fan response has been overwhelming, proving that the demand for authentic, propaganda-free storytelling is stronger than ever. Brett Cooper's presence alone adds a level of credibility to this project that Disney simply doesn't have. Unlike Rachel Zegler, who constantly belittles the original Snow White, Cooper actually understands the importance of this story. She isn't here to deconstruct a beloved character into some angry, unrecognizable feminist icon. She's here to play the role the way it was meant to be played. She's even taken the time to interact with fans, responding to their excitement and promising them a version of Snow White that stays true to the Brothers Grimm tale. That's how you build trust with an audience, something Disney has completely forgotten how to do.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much better than you.
And let's not forget the absolute mic drop moment from Daily Wire's Jeremy Boring. This man came out swinging, reminding everyone that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the very foundation of Disney's empire. He laid it out perfectly. If Walt Disney himself saw what his company had become, he'd be rolling in his grave. The original Snow White was a massive risk, a gamble that could have bankrupted Disney. But it worked, because it was authentic. It wasn't trying to preach to its audience, it was simply telling a beautiful story. Fast forward to today, and Disney is spitting on that legacy with their ridiculous reimagining. Fans aren't just upset, they're furious. Disney's decision to replace the Seven Dwarfs, erase the prince's role, and turn Snow White into some bitter anti-romance crusader has completely alienated their core audience. In contrast, the Daily Wire is proving that honoring tradition isn't some outdated concept. It's exactly what people have been craving. That's why Brett Cooper's Snow White has taken the internet by storm. A fan wrote, "Brett's bubbly, likable personality and shrewd, well-grounded commentary is a great antidote to the horribly arrogant woke Zegler." The promo images alone sent a message loud and clear. This is the Snow White people remember. The fair skin, the classic dress, the innocence, everything Disney is too embarrassed to embrace. And the fans? They're eating it up. Now share your thoughts about Disney and Zegler's woke promotions, and Cooper's purity and love for classics in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing videos on Snow White and Brett Cooper.